the official groundbreaking event, and then part of that stopping was with Lanakila. So maybe call Lanakila out.
So I'm going to bring Lanakila on because we just said October 7th. So what I just want, everybody feeling okay, even though I know your position might be all over the place, because didn't we say all are welcome? We said all are welcome. So if this is not your position, and this is not your understanding, and you have a different perspective, you still walked in the door with an open heart. And like we said, we are not presenting two sides, because we are Mauna Kea Ohana, and we stand with the Mauna. Yeah, we stand with the Flores. However, we truly welcome everybody in this room with an open heart. We really do, because the more people that we can really reach, even with our understanding of things, we're one community no matter what. So I just want to say, everybody relax, okay?
I'm just going to quick run through of what happened after the groundbreaking, stopping the groundbreaking. April 2nd, construction was to commence. Even though we're in court, even though we're in appeal, they're going to start construction, just like they did on Hale. April 2nd, there was a shutdown of the construction. And I have Lanakila go over it, but I'm just going to give what happened. Just visuals. And there were a number of arrests that occurred that day on the Mauna. And somebody posted this online that this small group of protectors has thousands upon thousands of supporters. Yeah. Never underestimate the power of a small group of committed people to change the world. In fact, it is the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead. Then comes June 24th, okay, after this governor trying to do things here and there, then they said, okay, you can start up again. So June 24th, the TMT construction crew decides to come up again, and that was shut down. And here you have line. Of course, a number of people were arrested that day. Here you have the lines of people, and circles of people who stood for the Mauna. Many of them here tonight here as well. Just standing in aloha for the Mauna. Then we talk about the Hawaii Lonas, the elements coming. Then comes Lilinoe and others coming with the mist. Okay, I'm going to address this. There's a lot was talked about all the pohakus on the road. Yes, pohakus were put on the road, but the pohakus were cleaned up that day. And I know it because we were out there. So pohakus were put on the road to stop what was coming. And how that unfolded, it just unfolded. Now, there was a security point that was put up further up though. And that's where walls were put up. But never ever in time was anybody's safety or anybody's safety was jeopardized, because vehicles would come and go at certain points. Because I know, because we were up there. Okay. And then eventually, all these were taken down. People, the day, the rocks that were put on the road, it's a short section, that was taken down by 3 o'clock because we were way up and that was all gone. The only thing was on the road after that was the walls and the ahu. But there was, basically the mountain was shut down. The rangers shut the mountain down, everybody shut the mountain down. And eventually, those things on the road was removed. So never in a point in time So with that excuse, the board passed these emergency rules, which is to target the protectors on the Mauna. And so that's what happened up until this point. And so Lanakila, who is from Hamakua, can maybe give us further insight.
Okay, so I'm going to bring it to that point, and then after Lanakila is done, as a preview to what a class might hold for us, this really isn't a question-answer unless you have a really burning one, but as I said, maybe if we just wait here, because question-answers can take us to 10 o'clock, and I really don't want to do that, but if you have like a burning question, some of us can stay here and answer so that, you get it, if you get your answer, if we have an answer for you. So from 2011 to 2015, really the court system itself and 6 petitioners and our supporters kept that construction from happening even when it was approved. But come 2015, when the governor gives the permission for the start of construction, even though we are still in the court cases, that's what catapults this current movement, so we're all clear. So it wasn't like we needed the mass. When you're asked, how come you never, jump in sooner, how come only now? Only now is when that mass was really, truly necessary. So in 2014, October 7th, which we're coming up on the 1 year of that, in just days from now, and on October 7th, we will be gathering at Pu'uhuluhulu at 8 o'clock. To remember that, to reconnect to that, to remember when we all of a sudden became braver. Because I'll tell you something, being on the Mauna, and many of us in here are, many in here have been arrested on the Mauna. You just might not know them. My daughter included, Havani, in the last arrest, in the emergency rules arrest that happened recently. Many of the arrestees are going to court this Thursday at 9 o'clock right here in Waimea. So if you're wondering how you can participate, you can pule for them on Thursday. You can meet us at 8:40, and you can join the circle when we bless them, all the arrestees, before they go in. It's not easy, to stand for your Mauna. It's not easy to deal with the court system. It's not easy to face off officers that have guns, when you're standing in your line holding ground. That is not easy, but it is a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to do that. So the reason I asked Lanakila is because I really wanted him to give you an update on where we are right now, as far as what you might have seen in the newspaper. We're no longer on the Mauna in the evening, and he's going to explain that, although we are having a presence on the Mauna every day. So how can you help? You can come up in your best self and man a day on the Mauna. Pass out flyers, talk to people, dance hula, chant. You can be on the Mauna. So those are some of the things we're doing right now. So Lanakila, eo.
Hello, I talked a little more faster and I just had a cup of coffee, so it's going to be good. I go back to Kuhio after this. So, mahalo for coming. So I just wanted to kind of give the update. But going back to a couple of things. Myself, you guys watch videos already. But so I'm a product of the Hawaiian Charter School movement. 21st century, bringing in reintroducing our ancient and traditional knowledge into the 21st century. And the foundation of that school was based upon being able to prepare the next generation to be able to walk in both worlds. And not to have to go back when we're older, to have to try and recover who we are. Yeah. So that we come out knowing our foundation first, and then we have a platform to understand the rest of the world. Yeah. Where right now the education system is opposite. Or where we teach our children from an example halfway across the planet, which they cannot connect with their own environment. And then later on, it's like, oh, but you're Hawaiian too, by the way. Yeah. So for me, stepping into this is a matter of education. It really is a matter of education. And so for me, in a lot of ways too, I've been taught to be able to speak in a way that many different people can understand. To be able to interpret things in multiple different ways. Whether I taught kindergarten to college too, so how to explain the story of the Mauna to a kindergartner, and it turned out to tell the same story to a senior, and then to a college professor. How do I translate that through the different ways so they can understand that? So with that, I really bring up this concept too. The application of traditional cultural science. What is science? Translation of science, it is the observation of nature. That's what science is. So our cultural practices and our spiritual practices is our science. That's our science. So as Uncle had shared too, we have all these akua on the Mauna, for example. All these deities. Well, now, a lot of us are being trained, okay, how do we explain that to people who just don't, who may hear something that and automatically go, oh, fairy tales, oh, superstition. How do I explain these things? Because our culture and our spirituality is very practical. It's so practical. Yeah? What we're facing off with is ignorance in the understanding of not wanting to learn another language. In which we had a tradition, we had a custom in a way that lasted for thousands of years. So you want to talk about scientific study, practices that have been proven and tested over 1,000 years, opposed to a scientific study of 10 years, 15 years, maybe 20 years if you got lucky. Well, we had a lot of systems that were set up for over 1,000 years and were proven to work. That's why we didn't have to change so much, because it worked. It worked really well. And with that practical application of our and understanding of these spiritual things. So when we talk about the akua on the Mauna, we're really looking at understanding our form. So when you look at all those deities, Poliahu, the snow, Lihau, the frost, Mo'oinanea, the guardian spirit of the mountain, Kipu'upu, the hail, Kuauli, the blizzard, Koupokane, the thunderclouds and the springs, Waiau, the lake. What do they all got in common? They're all water. Understanding these akua are the observation of our kupuna, observing the hydrology of Mauna Kea. And the stories of how they move in all these different forms, that's how our kupuna interpreted these things. There's one other extra layer though in indigenous science. There's a respect. A level of respect and understanding how these elemental forms influence us. That's why they're called akua. The word God was just the closest thing in the English language that could find to translate that. But it's one way one kupuna explained with me. The term akua, of the kua, of the back, of the spine, the support, that which is behind you that gives us the ability, the breath of life to stand up and live. Yeah? So whatever the things, the elements that we deal with that give into the cycles of life, that give us the elements for us to live, they're akua. That's our word for that. So all these very critical elements, whether it be the lepo itself, or the vai, all these things, the trees, the animals, they're akua. Why? Because they give us life. It's an ultimate goal for a Kanaka to try and become and live like an akua, in a way that we are giving life to the world and not just taking from it. So in part of this movement is for us having to learn how to be able to translate and share this knowledge that we have. And this is the reasons why we're standing here. It really much is the very part of the same movement that's happened around the world. It's called consciousness. Paying attention to what's really happening on this planet right now. Yeah. And putting the health and safety of not just humans, but understanding the health and safety of the natural environment is the ultimate way of preserving the health and safety of the people. So when we talk about like the Mauna, some people are saying, well, the mountain's so big though, how is this project only going to influence? There's different levels of the mountain. That's what's so significant about the mountain. The mountain jutting up like that is very unique for the Pacific region. Why? Because now, because of such high levels of the mountain going up, you now have multiple different climate zones. You don't got that in Tahiti. Yeah, they have maybe a couple. But because of the high mountain, we have so much level. So I was looking at this wall, it's perfect. Okay, you gotta take triangle, yeah? Each one of these is another realm. All the way down. And there's more in between. Each one is unique and specific in its role in how the ecosystem of these islands work. But you gotta think triangle. You gotta think mountain. So like from here, it comes like this, and like here, it comes like that. So in the Wawakua realm, in the top of the triangle, you only got like maybe 1, 2 bars. Wawakua, you come down Waukele, oh, it's a little bit bigger. You have more space. Where did most of our villages, where were they? Down by the coast, the base of that mountain. So you had plenty room. Yeah. And the elements and the natural ecosystems and the resources in that realm is plentiful. Yeah. But up here, it's not plentiful. It only has the space of maybe 2 blocks. And that's its own unique environment right there. So when we're talking about the summit, the Wauakua way up there, and the delicate life forms that live up there, that is the only place they survive in all of the universe. You cannot go grab that particular types of ferns and what they call lichens and faunas and stuff from up here, and say, well, we'll raise them down here. They will make. They cannot exist down here. They need that realm. And so we only got 2 blocks. How much damage has already been done in there? Too much. Ask NASA. They said the same thing. Too much. So that's what we're saying, is that that realm is already too impacted. No cannon anymore. Power. And so we're having to translate. What we're standing up for is not only the spiritual components in which people can question up and down if it's true. There's facts behind these mo'olelo. They are our kupuna scientific observation of our environment after 2,000 years of observation. It's very good information. So, I say this too because I kind of love this. An article just came out today in Nature magazine. It's a big magazine. Horrible article. One thing I remember, I sat down with this person for 2 hours explaining all these different dynamic cultural perspectives with scientific backing and all this kind of stuff like that. All they picked out about it was they're talking about, oh, you know, he was on his cell phone when I came to the tent. And it was pathetic. But that's the but how we're getting our message to the world, our stance is vital to the health and safety of the natural ecosystem, which is vital to the health and safety of us, of everyone who lives on these islands. And understanding that to impact more into these one particular realm, it's called gravity. There will be a downhill effect all the way through. Physically, spiritually, yes. I'm not going to displace the spiritual components. That there is a lot of factual matters that we have to understand here. So it really is a question of whose science is more important than. Now, I got no gripe against astronomy. Not at all. It's a great science. It's amazing. It gives us a lot of information. But
it impacts a lot of things.
It impacts a lot. And so it has its place and it has its role in the world. However, I think for myself, as a 21st century child, I'm a Star Wars kid. And I believe that right now, our day and age, we have, or we're very close to making those scientific breakthroughs that we can continue these kinds of observations and astronomy and all this kind of stuff without being negatively impactful upon this planet. We're almost there. And I have been rebutted with, no, it'll never happen. We can't do that. It's like, that's what you guys said 10 years ago about a TNT. But look, you guys we're able to figure out the science, and now you can make a 30-meter large telescope. So I'm saying, we can wait a little bit more longer, and pretty soon just go up into space and study space. You don't have to be chopping off the top of the mountains, you don't have to be pissing off the natives. You don't have to be detrimental to fragile ecosystems. Yeah? I hope that we are evolving beyond that. So that's part of this movement that is right now, from October and stuff, getting the word out, and really we are making big connections, because this is not just our story here in Hawaii, everybody. This is the same thing that's happening all over the world. Yeah? It's really paying attention to this planet and really addressing the issues that are needed. The things that we need to be malamang here. Our stand for the mountain has to do with environment. It has to do with economics. It has to do with politics. We cannot separate. It is influencing all those things. And I'm sorry, but you cannot tell me, as a young person, you cannot tell me that we are in a better place now than we were 100 years ago. Yeah. We put up a good front. But our planet is suffering. I'm still in my 20s. Even I can tell you, I remember going down Kauai Highway and going fishing over there, and you see the cloud of the yellow tank going. Now, you're lucky you see one or two dart across the reef. Even I remember these kind of things, and I always say, oh, when I was young, I used to have plenty. So for my kids, what my kids gonna see? Up on the mountain, there's already been amazing, amazing feats and discoveries of astronomy. Okay, Mai Ka'i. What's it brought us? Beautiful pictures. And they like to say, oh, you got your camera on top of your cell phone now. So for me, and for many, I know in this movement, it really is, it's about that consciousness. And really pay attention to what needs to be addressed right now in this day here, in this time. And for this call to really be amplified by our sacred mountain, Mauna Kea. It's calling out to the great expanse that we need a massive expansion of thought and clarity. That's also Poliahu. Poliahu in the Mo'olelo, she's the oracle of Hawaii. That's why the Kahuna and the Ali'i would go up there if they absolutely needed to get a clear perspective, direction. Poliahu is the goddess of clairvoyance, so that clarity. So right now we full of a whole bunch of stuff in our face. Yeah. Okay, get right to it. Okay, coming. Let us can. So right now on the Mauna too, we are looking and understanding too. We're not here to make enemies. There is no enemies. For this day and age, I'm sick of the days of drawing lines. And now the other person on the other side is my enemy. No. We just got two different perspectives. Let's work it out. Kapu aloha brings us into that understanding. That's what aloha is. Alo, face to face. And understanding the ha, the breath of life that me and you share together. So we have to figure this out. Okay? So that's why for me, we really gotta watch out the media guys. They love to paint the battle, they love the drama. We in America, everyone's addicted to drama. When it's not that. It's about clear conversations and coming up with the way forward. And like they tell us, not everyone is going to be happy. But for us at this time, it's what's best for the mountain. Why? Because we've already had enough time of satisfying the humans want on the mountain. Now it's about the mountain. Malamang, that mountain that feeds us all. So on Mauna Kea right now, yes, we've been able to not have to go up there anymore, or stay the night anymore, or to bring everybody back to the beginning. The reason why we started 24-hour vigilance on the mountain is because we didn't know when they were coming. The first tractors went up there at 2 o'clock in the morning. One time they showed up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Then they said they were coming and then the crews never came. And then one time we never knew they was coming and they showed up. So because it was unclear, we were like, yeah, we just go stay 24 hours. 24/7. Of course, for a lot of us, we don't want to have to stay up there overnight. Yeah? And in our traditions, we don't want to be up there. Yeah? Why? Because humans, we're dirty. Wherever we go, we make mess. So we try to make sure we compose it and we carry ourselves in the most pono fashion so we up there, we don't negatively impact the area. So finding this understanding right now with the DLNR is really, this is an address to public safety. This is really public safety, not these rules. The public safety standpoint is that they know that we are going to do what we need to do to protect the mountain, and construction crews eventually might be trying to return to the mountain, but to make sure everybody's safe, prior to construction crews coming up, they would like to have a meeting with us so we can discuss, okay, how's this going to go so that nobody gets hurt? I'm like, right on, yeah, that's great. We don't want anyone getting hurt, no matter what. But this gives us now a time zone. So we'll know when crews are coming to the mountain, because we need to have our meeting first. So yeah, thank you DLNR for being our watchdog on the mountain. I don't have to sleep up there anymore. So it's not that we're complying with the rules, but the reason for having to be there has been, with mutual understandings, has been dissolved. For now. Unless they break our trust. Then we'll be back on the mountain. Oh yeah, yeah, of course. What you mean? You can trust the state. But so with that, understanding in moving forward, we have gotten this far because we stand in that aloha and respectful manner, and we stand with oiai'o, with truth. We don't have to be making stuff up. We don't have to hide things. Why? Poliahu guides us. Clarity and truth. We're standing very strong to why we believe, to our beliefs of the mountain, because our beliefs of the mountain are the scientific facts of the mountain. When we talk about Poliahu coming to the mountain, yeah, that's snow on the mountain. That's the purity of Poliahu. That is the pure, untainted, highest waters of the island. And all the hydrology within the mountain. That's in those mo'olelo. So moving forward from here, a lot of us in the Mauna, we're looking ahead and pursuing really our heart's desire to take care of this mountain. And with that is maintaining and doing our part to remedy a lot of the damage that has been done to the mountain. So we're continuing moving forward with a few other aspects right now, like the forest restoration. Now that's very important, In times before, when it was not known or understanding the role of the forest, it all got chopped down. And now we deal with heavy floods. We deal with all this stuff because there's no forest to hold the water that falls from the mountain. So it's very important that we start moving into these things. And that is where now we have to actively be engaging. So another thing on the mountain that a lot of the brothers and the sisters up there who have been up there holding Kea'i is, we're not just up there for sit around. The work is already being done. What they call cruise guarding, the brothers over there. We've actually been working with DoCare, or not DoCare, what's the other guys? NARS, and the federal forest guys to be able to work on how can we help preserve this forest and regrow the forest. So we've been actively removing invasive species and planting in native species, helping to maintain those areas, and we're partnering with them to continue this growth process. My hope is one day, at least my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren will see that Lei Mamane restored to the mountain. The Hina Hina restored to the mountain. Not just because we'll ever see it, but because that is the cycles that was implemented on this island that was able to preserve the natural ecosystem. And that's really what it's all about. Getting back down to understanding our Aina. So I want to close with this. Our cultural teachings. Anyone in the world might want to call it whatever they want. Just all those words I used before. But really, why it's so important that we restore and we regain our cultural understanding is because that is when you know your land. It's such a big deal nowadays when you get somebody who knows the name of the pools. They're like, oh my God, they know the name of the pool and the river. But that was like common knowledge to a 3-year-old growing up. Why? Because our knowledge base today is not about our own homeland. So if we don't have a foundation in understanding our own home, how the waters move around you, the kinds of animals that live around you, the wind patterns, the pools, and the names of a lot of the hills tell you something about that hill. They're not just made up. They don't just make up names. We don't do that. Everything has a practical function. So, and I always say, that's part of that genocide of our people that we're dealing with. By removing our traditional knowledge, by removing the language so that we can understand the stories or the documentations and stuff, we no longer know our own home. And when you don't know your own home, you don't know how to live in balance with it. You don't know because you don't have... How really do we understand the rest of the world if we don't have a foundation of our own home? Yeah. So that is where the traditional knowledge is, and traditional science, and it's woven into our spirituality, is so important because we get back to knowing our own home. And when you know your own home, and you know how this mountain works with the water coming off, or how you know how this particular area bounces the winds this way, and you know how important that is to your area, you go protect it. Which is what our kupuna did for a long time. They protected. So how do they get us not to be able to relinquish our protections? You take away our knowledge of how it works. So I guess you could say a lot of my generation is being able to be that bridge of understanding and translating what our kupuna just lived and knew without question. And then we're living at a time when it was all messed up. It was all distorted and we're not allowed and blocked. And then it was said, no, only this way. And that way that came in doesn't fit here. So what's happening now is instead of know this environment and learn how to live in this environment, we're stuck in a frame of living in a different way in which change the environment to fit us. And that is what we're dealing with today. So again, the stand on the mountain has bigger ramifications for the world, and a bigger message to share with us all. And yeah.
The 5 things, whether it be for the Mauna or for the litigation, 5 things you folks need, maybe 7 things you folks need, off the top of your head. I'd like to know what you folks need.
Maybe we'll save that for the very end. Can we save that to the very end? Maybe we'll address that right at the end. What do we really need right now? So I'm going to wrap this up in a really beautiful way by giving you, I have to say, 2 examples of what a class would be like if we held a class here or somewhere in Waimea, which we will, because it was a great idea somebody came up with. Oh yeah, that was me. I'm going to start with, if we had a session on stories passed down by kupuna. Bernard. Bernard offered to share this.
Good evening. About 4 months ago, I was working at my farm. I live in the back here. My parents had Hawai'i homes. And I was planting coffee in the bag so I can transplant it in my farm. I'm changing my farm from. We did everything from piggery, kimchi, whatever, now we're planting coffee. And the gentleman drove up to my gate, and I was sitting down in my truck on the tailgate. I get 2 friends that come and help me. One is Honey Girl, and the other is Kyle. Once in a while, he'll come by and give me a hand. Anyway, this fellow drove up to my gate, and I was sitting on the tailgate facing him about from over here to the wall where my gate was. And he called me to the gate, so I was a Hale guy, about 40. So I went to the gate, I said, can I help you? And he said, yeah, I get some questions to ask you. And I said, what do you want to know? You looking for somebody in Hawaiian homes or whatever? I said, no, I want to talk to you. And he said, I'm a pilot for, what is it, the airline flights, right? Mangauil. I've been flying for 7 years. And something bothers me a lot. I fly twice a day from Honolulu to Molokai to Maui to the Big Island and back twice a day, in the morning and afternoon. And he said, every time I fly, when I fly over Pohokola, he said, before I fly over Pohokola, the plane, you know, like air pocket or whatever, but once I hit Pohokola, quite high the hill, and he had his phone and he showed me as the plane going, you could see the hill. Everything was calm and pleasant until he hit the other side of Pohokola. There was like an energy that comes straight up in the air. And it was a good distance because it took a while before the plane could get to you could see the end of the Pohokola. Once he hit the other end, you know, you go like this and whatever, you know. And he said, there's another place. When I fly over, once in a while, I take people on a sitting tour. We fly over by Pohokola, and we go around to Waipio Valley and go back to Maui. We fly over the pico of that mountain, and the same thing. The plane just calm, like there was energy coming out of that place. And he asked me, why? I said, how come you come ask me? He said, I heard that your family come from Pohokola. And I said, yeah, my grandmother come from over there. She was born and raised over there, down in Keawekane-Stafford. And when she was 5 years old, she was taken away in the early 1900s to go to Honolulu, and they put her in Ali'i school because she was family of Kamehameha, Keawe, and Lono. Her name was Lono. They were the last family that lived down in Keawekane-Stafford. There was a house down there that Eddie Joe used to live in. Anybody know Eddie Joe used to live down Kahea? Well, that's where my grandmother came from. And then, anyway, we back up now. So I told him, that's a special place. So I remember when I was young, 12 years old, she lived Honolulu her whole life. She went to Honolulu, she never did come back. My mother was the one that heard so much about Kahea that my mother married my father from Kona and she moved to Waimea. So as I grew up, my grandmother found out she was going to pass away. This was in the early 60s. She came back to Waimea. She came to our house, and my mother and father was working in a farm. They're farmers. And they asked my grandmother, the policeman bought her our house, Sydney Spencer, because my mother no answer the phone then. They was outside working. So my mother said, Mom, what are you doing over here? She said, I like to go down Pohokola. So my mother said, okay. Me and my husband obeyed, and then we will change our clothes, we take you down Pohokola. And she said, no. And my mother said, why? And she said, I want your son to take me down there. Me. But I was still in school, I was coming home. So, when I came home, I guess they had it out, they were talking. My grandmother wanted me to go to Pohokola with her. My mother never liked, because she know that can get plenty things that is, you know, if you don't know, you might die or whatever, you know, you get all stuff there. And my grandmother they're the caretakers of the Kahea, the family. They were the last of their family. They also was family to Kamehameha. She was Ali, she was a couple moi. That was her rank. So my father said, they were angry with my mom, and I was only 12 years old. So my father I asked my dad, I said, so what am I going to do, Dad? He said, take your grandmother to Hawaii. I said, I don't want license. Never mind, the police will know you drive all around. Just leave it there. Okay? Run in the house, go get my swimming clothes and everything. Jump in the car, go and Hawaii. Ditch my grandmother Pukola. I go down, spend some park to sleep. Never happened. We went down to Hawaii. She took me to the house. There's a road that you go down to Pelakane Bay. She took me to the house. She said, that's where I come from. And she stayed there for 3 days. And during the 3 days, every day after I pass school, I take my grandmother down to the hill. And she told me every day, little by little, about where she come from and all the things at the hill. And so the last day, we went down there, she put me on the hill. Not Pukola, the next one, Waimea, or whatever. She said, go over there, go over there, go over here. And we farmers. And then the last day she said, go get one bottle. Bring one bottle with one cover. So look, no more bottle but a house. Well, my mother likes to make kimchi, So I will grab one, come with a kimchi bottle. Brand new one out of the box. I put them in a cup. She told me bring one bottle. The last day, we removed some rocks and we went in the cave. Nobody can go inside the cave. You go in the cave, you muck it. That's why my mother and father never liked me go. But she would take me in the cave. My grandmother was a big Hawaiian lady. She hold my hand. And I go in the cave there. And the first thing I do is I look where the light stays. Anything touch me, I'm going to run right out of there. Full speed. Down about my grandma. Hey, she hold me tight. Come here. And I said, hold me back, you know. We went inside, we passed all the canoes. We passed all stuff of Kamehameha. And she put back a couple of rocks. Then we come back out in a couple of months. And she put me on the hill and she made me pray. Hawaiians, when they pray, different from anybody else. They pray from their heart. So beautiful. I know, because I went in all the church. For a small kid and 2 big kids, I went over there. My mother said, you get 2 choices. You work in a farm or you go to church. So I went to church. Every Sunday, every Friday, every Wednesday. And Friday used to go to church. The lady over there was my Sunday school teacher. Oh, she can tell you, pull my ear, you know. So the last day after she put me on the house, she would pray in Hawaii. I smiled, so beautiful how she prayed. You know, I smiled. I never hear somebody pray like that. But she was praying from her heart. But she don't pray Pukola. She faced Mauna Kea. So I asked my grandma, why you pray in Mauna Kea? She said, Mauna Kea is connected to Pukola as a mama. Pukola is the baby. And then we went home. My mother packed all the clothes. Hurry up before you miss the airplane. Before the plane used to come, Waimea, the big plane, you know. And she would take me outside in the farm. She took me in the farm, away from everything. We just had our farm, so, you know, everything was put up by the house. So she never liked to go to the house. So we walked inside the farm, away from everything, and no noise, nothing. And she would pray again to the mountain. She would pray for protect me, for me to stay over here today and talk to you. And I told her, why the mountain? She said, because that is a sacred place too. very special. And this was 50, 60 years ago, my grandmother tell me that. And she was born in the 1800s, and she was ali'i. So if she tell me that, then that mountain is sacred. On top of that, she had two rocks. One big one and one small one. This rock was taken from a Mauna Kea by her great-grandfather, Lolo. That is through whatever he did. She gave me this, and she gave me one small rock. She said, every time you don't feel good, whatever, you pray to that mountain. So what you're doing today is real. That mountain is real. And I am real angry with what they're doing because they don't listen to the Hawaiians. Wow. This is what I get to say. The aim, the Hawaiians will win because Pedro will cover them. Yeah. And all the money they will spend up there. Nothing, no more nothing. So you guys like fight back, pray from your heart. Face the mountain. Pray from your heart, like all the Hawaiians used to do before. And you'd be surprised. We're going to give dirty licking. Thank you.
When I hear a story like that, that's why I want to have a class so that we have these stories, but two, I know why I do what I do. Yeah, we know why we stand. And we know there's no question. We're going to close this evening by bringing up one last person to close it for us. But before we do that, because then we'll just pull it and it'll be over. And I thank you for staying probably longer than you should be. But we might not have a presentation like this again here in Waimea. So thank you for doing that, because we're hoping to go around the island and help others. So this presentation is really sponsored by the Mauna Kea Awareness and Education Fund that we began in Waimea, and a few of us in here are on the committee, and we are going to be anywhere and everywhere where we can educate and bring awareness about the Mauna in the best way we know how, with an open heart, but we are going to do it. And the stickers, the signs for your yards. If you want to know how you can help, you can just do that. Let's spread awareness. You don't have to get up with my two sisters who sign wave every morning. You guys ever see them out there at 6:30? That's my sisters. Yeah, you don't have to do that. You don't even have to come on Wednesday afternoons when it's, we're Mauna Kea Wednesday. You don't have to do that, even though we're sign waving there and you are invited. You don't have to do that. You don't even have to stand on the Mauna, because we're not here to convince you to do anything. This is not a place where you've come so that we can beg for you to stand with us when the next call comes. That's up to you and your Ohana. I'll be there. But where you go is where you go. But maybe just saying the Mauna is sacred every day, and saying, Big Mama, we love you is plenty. It's plenty. So I'm going to ask Pomai Bertelman, who stood with me on June 24th and stood with many of us here in this room on the Mauna on June 24th, to come up and bring you, Waimea, Kona, Hilo, Puna, Ka'u, everywhere, a little closer to your Mauna.
My name is Kalani. I'm born here in Waimea, raised here in Waimea for all of my life. I would like to just say mahalo nui for coming this evening. Mahalo nui for being here in this area of this particular area that is housed and taken care of by Pu'uhaloa and Pu'ukakanihi, where the stream of Lanakila flows from right here, from Pu'uhaloa down through Waimea. And so mahalo nui to everyone for being here and for coming into the room with a consciousness of wanting to learn and understand, wanting to deepen who we are as Kanaka. And so I was asked to share in regards to the mana'o, the thought, and the intention of kapu aloha. I can only speak to you from the front door of my own house. I cannot tell you anybody else's story. I can only tell you mine in the context of that terminology, kapu aloha. When I was young, like many of you in this room, aloha first of all to all of my makua, all of those who are makua and kufuna of this area of Waimea. Aloha, it is really good to see all of you. But it is they who actually taught my siblings and I, and a lot of my cousins, about who Mauna Kea is. And it is because of Parker Ranch, and because of Hawaiian homes, and the family ranches that we have, and that were gifted to us, that as kids we started to understand and develop our own relationship with the mountain. It's not a relationship that I learned about in college. It's not a relationship that I learned about from someplace else in the world. It's a relationship that I learned about because that's where we went every weekend. Because that's what we did every weekend. We went to the base of the mountain and we learned how to provide sustenance for ourselves. So every time we turn our hands down into the lepo, every time we'd have to hapai kiawe from puako, every time we'd have to hamura lepo from the aina so that we could go ahead and kanu the different things that needed to go into the ground so that we could provide sustenance. We developed a relationship with the Mauna that at one point in time put forth all of the ash, all of the lepo that fed animals and the different methodologies and of food propagation. When we were young, my siblings and I would actually ride in a truck. It was my Uncle Glenn's old Mack truck. And that truck would actually haul water up to Mauna Kea. We could only do that ride between the hours of 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning. And so for many years, we were able to haul water up to the mountain. So I could put it in a tank, gravity flow down to different areas. Below Puakula, below Puakuakane, to feed people and animals below that region. And what's really interesting is that under the shade of the malu of the evening, of the night, those of you who utilize that old Waikiki road, you understand and you know, the traffic was pretty heavy then. And it wasn't always just Kanaka traffic, it was military traffic. So there were times when it got pretty hairy on that road. But our kuleana was to go up to that mountain to put water so that animals in Kanaka could thrive and survive. Again, another methodology, another way in which we were able to, as kids, develop a pilina to Mauna Kea. A number of years ago, 20 years ago to be specific, actually 22 years ago to be specific, men from the voyaging Ohana were tasked with the kuleana of finding logs large enough to build a double-hull voyaging canoe out of koa. An 8-month search on the flanks of Mauna Loa, up in Keawekane-Stafford, ensued. And over time, and after this 8 months of looking for this koala, there was not a log large enough to be able to build the kind of canoe that we needed. However, the canoe then was sought, the logs for that va'a eventually came from the Haida and the Tlingit Indians of Alaska. And so to them, mahalo nui for providing the la'au for Hawai'i loa. But on this island, those men and the families of those men decided that they wanted to continue and to pursue the building of a vessel, a traditional vessel. And so under the direction of Uncle Parley Kanaka, under the direction of Hale Makua, under the direction of Kili Ita'a Kaniala Akaka, Nakalaiva'a was formed, and the men went ahead and continued their search up at Keauho, Mauna Loa, to look for a log suitable enough to build a traditionally built canoe. The story can be told better than what I can tell you by Uncle Mauli, Lira Mason, or Pua, and others in this room. The result of that find was a single koa tree that committed itself to becoming the coastal sailing canoe Moloa. That canoe was carved, was actually felled and carved by the pohaku that comes out of Keanakakoi, the Adskoi up in Mauna Kea. The most amazing ceremony in over 200 years took place up at Keanakakoi, when it was time to go back to re-enter a space that hadn't been accessed for generations, specifically looking for pohaku, for the kupuna to go ahead and to carve to Kalaiwa. So again, for those families, the community and the children of all of those individuals who chose to be a part of that time, that movement, that was another way of being able to build and cultivate a relationship with Mauna Kea. Lastly, in this room are individuals, and I shared this before in Honoka'a when we had our talk story there. When we were growing up, my Ohana, my family, because of my dad and all of my uncles, were part of this Ohana called Kahea Oka'ahiu. And Kahea Oka'ahiu were the men who made it their kuleana and their purpose to provide sustenance for their Ohana from the Mauna in multiple ways, and of hunting and gathering. But from them, their children and now their grandchildren understand and know, and many other individuals like them from throughout this whole entire moku have utilized or have understood Mauna Kea's gift to us is kanaka in the way of food. And so it is those individuals, similar and same like those who introduced us to ranching, like those who taught us how to do ranching, but also to malama, the aina that you come from, that helped us to develop a pilina to Mauna Kea. And so with that, 20 years ago, when I first met Hale Makua, he was a beautiful, beautiful man, amazing, amazing spirit, and somebody I truly didn't understand at the time when I first met him. But I remember being in a circle with Makua, I met Mason Maikui, who first introduced to me the process of kapu aloha. Mason said to us in that circle that day that kapu aloha is the way in which we need to act, but it will also be the hardest couple for us to be able to take upon ourselves, because it required of us to be our absolute best self. Does that mean in kapu aloha that we cannot struggle? No. It means that you struggle and you understand the process of how to recalibrate yourself. Does it mean that potentially you're not gonna fall short and potentially say something or do something you're not supposed to? No. What kapu aloha enabled in us at that time and evoked within us at that time was the ability to say, please, excuse me, I'm sorry, forgive me, as daily practice. And so like a net, Hale Makua instituted and shared with us this value, this methodology and this practice of kapu aloha. And he shared that with the voyaging Ohana. Because we had a kuleana after the Wa'amalo was built then to build a voyaging canoe makali'i. And like this movement of Mauna Kea, an undertaking such as that, of an entity that hadn't been present in Hawaii for such a long time, it was going to require that everybody be their best self. When we drink the ava not because we want to have a wiha, bang up good time. That's not what the ava is about. The ava is about drinking something that is bitter and ingesting something that has a little bit of bitterness to it so that you remember that the journey is not going to be easy. But you sit together in a circle drinking the ava so that you understand that you all take that commitment together. The other thing that I learned about Kapua Aloha from Hale and all of those who were in that circle with us was that aloha is spread out like a net. And that every maka on that net, you were able to place people, place experiences of acts of pono, so that every time you're struggling with pule and with looking back at that net and reflecting upon those experiences that were pono, you were able to help to recalibrate yourself. I would look at this maka and I would start to see Mason's face, so I would check in with Mason because I gotta get recalibrated. I gotta check in with Pua maybe because I gotta get recalibrated. I potentially help somebody else just through conversation. That's what Kapua Aloha tasked us to do. So between Kapua Aloha and recognizing and understanding our Mauna, it gives us then kuleana to respond when uncertainty happens. In 1897, two of my kupuna signed the Kuhio petition. And I cannot say what they would have said. I don't know what they would think about everything that's happening now. What I do know is that both of them were living at the time that the Queen was here. She was on this island, she was on this earth. And though I cannot say what they would say, though I don't know what they would believe about any of this time, what I know is that I have their koko inside of me. And at that time, they recognized that something wasn't okay. They had the intellect and the wisdom and the knowledge within themselves to understand and to recognize that on their net that was hanging all of these things that were pono, that pono was telling them that there was something that wasn't all right and that they needed to recalibrate and to make decisions. Not for themselves, or only for themselves, but also for us, 4 generations from them. And so, when we're in a classroom setting, because like Paul mentioned, this is a classroom setting, these stories become very relevant. And then my kuleana as a teacher then is to make sure that I expose my students to these people or to these places so that they, who are not necessarily born and raised in Waimea, at a very young age can start to develop their own pilina to the mountain. Because only when you have experiences like I've fully been blessed to have, do you truly understand the heartbeat of the mountain. Only then, when you spend as much time as you do with whatever place that we all come from, only then does that place start to help us to recognize how we are part of it and how we are it. Then you have the ability, when called upon, to be able to speak on behalf of or about from your own back door, from your own door. So one of the other things that I did learn over time, and this is a lesson that my dad taught me, was about, he worked in construction at the end of his, before he transitioned. And in doing so, one of the things, he came home one day and he's very frustrated about a job that he was working on. And he was frustrated because for whatever reason, he was frustrated. But the lesson that I got out of that day was this. It was, my job doesn't give me license to be maha'oi. My job does not give me license to be maha'oi. So he needed to go and malama whatever he needed to do because of whatever direction the job was going into. But he recognized, even as a foreman, who many times would be working in the trenches with his men, not giving orders, that no matter what the job was, even if his job was as the foreman of that job, if it wasn't pono, it wasn't pono. And he couldn't go maha'oi in that and say, but we did all of the paperwork, and we did all of this, and we did all of that. That job could not dictate what was truly pono. And so, so with that, cycling it back to Hale, to this man who was so eloquent in the way that he said, and he made us ponder about things. I just want to go ahead and bring him again back into the room and echo. I'm not going to echo his words. I'm just going to leave it there. And I'm going to say that Kapualo has really helped me to be able to define and evaluate myself. This mountain, Mauna Kea, this portal that is always on, that we live right below, that we see every day, that we've seen for all of our lives transform, has transformed our lives. And really, in closing, what I want to share with you lastly is poliahu. Can we all say poliahu? Poliahu. Poliahu. So we know poliahu in many, many ways. We know poliahu as an altar. We know poliahu as, like Lanakila described, as all of these different nuances of Vai on the mountain. I would like to leave you with this one notion, this one thought, this one idea. Atipua Kanakawale tells us that the kumulipo, from the first two lines of the kumulipo, o keawe kahuli vela kahonua, o keawe kahuli lole Kalani. Kumulipo is a document, is text that describes and talks about the creation of specifically the earth and everything about it. And so in saying the words poliahu, I think a lot of times we get caught up in the idea that poli just means breast or bosom. And the ahu, yes, is the altar. But I'm going to leave you with this mana'o this evening. I would like us to also look deeper into the word poli. Poli is also depression. Ahu is not just an altar, it also means to be sacred. If you have ever, like many of those men that I spoke about earlier, traversed the mountain from base to its highest heights, you know that every step is a depression. Every step is a little depression. I walked it very minimally, but for those of you who know, you know what I mean. Is that it's up and down every step. So if poli means depression and ahu, it also means to be an altar or to be sacred. What the word poliahu to me then means is that every inch, every depression, every crevice, every nook, for the men and women of our community, my family who raised us. And it is with that I share with all of this with you. I say mahalo nai, aloha.
Mahalo kamai. That's what a class might be like on maybe a Wednesday afternoon. And that's the value of everybody in this room that might want to do that, might share, might teach. So with that, I'm going to say it's 9 o'clock. I know, I'm so sorry. But again, this might be it for a presentation, or you might join our class.